Welcome to Light Her Up, your go-to podcast for exploring what it means to align with your passions and create a life filled with freedom, ease, and fulfillment. I'm your host, Natalie Bernacchi, a mom, entrepreneur, and certified coach who left a 15-year corporate career to build a life aligned with my passions and help other women do the same. We'll be diving deep into topics like self-discovery, mindset shifts, and the courage to pursue the life you've always dreamed of. Thank you for being here and for prioritizing yourself. I'm honored to be a part of your journey. If you're ready to find your joy, reclaim your identity, and upgrade your life, you're in the right place. Now let's light it up. Hello, my loves, and welcome to the Light Her Up podcast. Today's guest is someone who embodies a message I know we all need to hear, that messy action beats perfection every time. Jessica Burgio spent over 20 years as a beauty entrepreneur before stepping into her true purpose, helping women dissolve limiting beliefs, take bold action, and create lives and businesses that truly light them up. She's now a powerhouse podcast coach and mentor, helping women amplify their voice, their purpose, and their impact. I cannot wait for you to hear this conversation because it's all about real momentum, not perfect plans. And before we dive into today's interview, I have to tell you something big is coming. We are bringing our 2-time sold out in-person mastermind online. So again, if you're a woman that's ready to launch, scale, or grow your business, if you're craving real support, high-level mentorship and coaching, and a room full of women who are done playing small, this is for you. No more shrinking, no more waiting. It's time to turn your big vision into a real reality. Get on the wait list now. Spots will be limited and you will not want to miss out. The link is in the show notes. Hi, Jess. Thank you so much for joining me on the Light Her Up podcast. I am so excited to have you here.
I'm honored to be here. I'm so glad we connected a few weeks ago and we're getting to do this already.
Yes, I am so excited. So I have to say so let me just backtrack for the audience here. We are in a few similar circles. And for some reason, I've been seeing you popping up in these circles lately, and I actually got to meet you in person at Inbal Claudio's community, Like-Minded OC, and you were speaking there on how to start a podcast. And what I just loved about you immediately was you are just a no BS kind of woman. You just showed up, you are who you are, you did not sugarcoat things, you don't beat around the bush, you just say it how it is. And then I started going on this deep dive, listening to all of your podcast episodes. So yes. I feel like I know you already. But yeah, you were speaking on this topic of how to start a podcast and you just drew people in with your magnetic energy. And I'm just so grateful you're here.
Thank you. It's interesting. It's always obviously wonderful to get great feedback and to have people see you for who you are and also accept you, appreciate the real and rawness that sometimes we have to just cut through the noise, which I cut through the bullshit really of sugarcoating stuff, because there is plenty of that online and in life of people playing nice and sugarcoating how maybe easy something is. And I just want to help people move the needle faster. So I don't want to confuse you or trick you or make you believe that something's going to be easier than it is. I'd rather you think it's harder than it is and it actually be easier in the end, because to me, for some reason, psychology, it works a little bit better. Maybe it's my fitness background, but I just want to believe things are going to be harder than they really are and then be pleasantly surprised that it was easier.
100%. Better that than the other way around, for
yes.
Sure. Oh my gosh. Okay. So for those meeting you here on the podcast for the first time, can you share a little bit about who you are today and the work that you do to support women?
Yes. So currently I am a podcast host myself. I have a show called Unscripted, the podcast. There are 500 other podcasts with that same name. So you have to put my full name in to find it. But the reason we landed on that title was because I started a podcast about 5 years ago called the Beauty Inspires Beauty podcast. It was in the midst of COVID when my salon had just been shut down. And I was angry enough to create the podcast that I had been wanting to start for about 2 years because I actually had a message finally that felt like even though I didn't really know how to articulate it yet, or I wasn't a seasoned podcaster or even really that big in the online space yet, I was like, somebody has to talk about what's going on right now. And so the pain of not speaking up was stronger than the pain of staying comfortable and playing small. So, and that's very unlike me to play small, but I stayed in my lane for many years, almost 20 plus years in the beauty industry. I had, truth be told, just opened my own very first salon outside of the partnership I had before. And 6 months later, we were shut down. So I had
Mm,
already been feeling the intuitive nudge to move into the online space because I had a son at the time. When this first kind of came to me in 2018, when I joined a business mastermind, of not missing out on stuff anymore. And so that was, again, another pain point marker in my life that made me get uncomfortable. And so I knew that I wanted to branch out, but I wasn't quite sure what direction I wanted to go. I knew I wanted to get into the mentoring and coaching space. I wanted to be able to work from anywhere. I'm not opposed to working hard or a lot. I just wanted to be able to do it whenever was convenient for my schedule now
mm,
with a kid, you know? And so that led me down the path of like confidence coaching and mindset coaching for people in the industry first and foremost. And then that trickled into really what I'm talking about and teaching could be for anybody in the entrepreneurship space, really in the world. And
mhm.
so I opened up my coaching to a more broader audience. And that's when we rebranded the podcast to be unscripted, which is very much me. Like you said, I
I
love to
love
be a
it.
little uncensored, a little unfiltered. And I just fell in love with the modality of podcasting, I guess, much like I did doing hair. And I loved teaching foundations in the beauty industry, right? Foundations of makeup and camera work, styling, and then foundations of cutting. So it wasn't surprising that I wanted to then teach what I had learned doing the podcast stuff,
Mhm.
because we can do anything creatively just for fun. But if you really want to take something serious, you have to put some strategy behind it, figure out the reason you're doing something, and then reverse engineer yourself to get there. And
Yeah.
so that's what's kind of started to happen is I threw some, what against the wall, started my own show, and it's evolved into what it is now. And I have a framework and a strategy and best practices. So if you want to make it part of your business and take it seriously, you can work with someone like me who will teach you how to start a podcast with strategy, with vision, clarity, all of the things, and show up confidently so that you can have a show that actually does what you hope it's going to do, which is to move the needle in your business or your life, and also set you up as an authority to do what you just said, create that relationship with somebody that you're not spending hours nurturing through the DMs or like is doing free coffee chats or catch ups. You literally met me once and you had access to over 300 episodes of me talking about life, business, kids, whatever, enough for you to know, do I like this lady or do I not
Yeah.
like her? Would I want to work with her? Like all of the things. And so, do I think everybody should have a podcast? Maybe not, but I think it's a great modality that connects people to you all over the world that you wouldn't otherwise get a chance to do. So now I coach and teach people how to start the podcast, like I said, while also having my own community here in San Diego called the Entrepreneur Success Series. We host monthly networking events for entrepreneurs. And that's growing and expanding and just kind of branching into kind of setting up events and community building stuff for other people in San Diego as well. So it's been an interesting 6-year journey from just being salon owner behind the chair into a few different iterations to getting here now.
So I have been watching you on social media and it feels like you're doing so many incredible things just to like expand the women that are around you. And that's something that I truly admire because that's something that I find is like such a huge, amazing characteristic in women is those that want to expand and lift each other up. And I think I heard you talking about this when you were in person about how it's interesting when you look back at your journey and like you were in the beauty industry for like 20 years, right?
Yeah.
And how those skills that you learned during that time really transferred over to what you're doing now. Like, I don't know if you said this, but when I go get my hair done or when I go get like a facial or something, any type of service where I'm working with someone who's working on me for like a couple hours, for some reason, I just want to tell them my whole life. So, like, little did you know you were like signing up to become a mindset coach. Like,
Yeah.
right? Like,
Little did I know. I think if I was to ever start a beauty school, that would be one of the modules I would teach in school would be how to work with the energy of your clients, because you have to first understand your own energy in order to understand what type of clients you want in your chair, because it's just as important for us to be around people that we can, get something from as well, because everything in life is transactional, right? So if you're working on clients that don't feed you energetically and are just maybe dumping on you, or if you can't
yeah.
redirect conversations very well. Like you'll struggle and you'll think you hate your job when really it's not the craft you're doing, it's who you're spending your time with. And also building relationships within the salon with people you're working with, your boss potentially, or if you ever become a boss, like the energetics of what goes into being an in-person type of business where you touch people physically, it's something that I cannot believe isn't taught more because it is so important. You can go and get the best haircut of your life, but if that person was rude to you or treated you poorly or wasn't kind to you or treated you just like another client, you wouldn't go back. Just the same would be said for someone who didn't give you the perfect haircut, but you had the best time. It was so much fun. She was so rad. You'd be like, I'm going to tell her actually I didn't like my haircut because I bet she'd be okay and she'd want to fix it for me. Like, so I think I always knew that I had something special. And I was really lucky to get a mentor early on that taught me how kind of to be an adult. I was 19 when I got into the industry. And I remember when I first started taking clients on my own in my early 20s, he was like, you're a kid, you know nothing. Go and learn about life. Go watch the latest movies that are out. Read the paper, read the magazines, go to the museums, like go learn about life so you have conversation to bring and entertain your clients with. And so that was something that stuck with me because I'm like, yes, we want to be interested in our clients, obviously, but you also want to be interesting. And I
Right.
learned that clients are attracted to the energy that you show up. So, okay, I'm in the beauty industry. I better look like I am. And
Yeah.
that's why I joke with the girls now that show up in their sweats and like hardly any makeup. And I'm like, you picked the wrong industry, sister.
Totally. That's so interesting you say that. I was not in the beauty industry. I was in the tech industry, tech startups. And I had an incredible mentor who told me, you have to dress the part. Like
Mm,
that's just part of it. You have to dress the part. And to me, it even goes further than just dressing the part. It's like kind of what you're tapping into. It's that full embodiment of this persona that you want to be, and also similarly who you want to attract.
yes.
And so that's huge. And yes, it does transfer very much so to the podcasting world and this other world where you're building communities and empowering women to expand and go on and do things that they want to do.
And if somebody's listening to this show that light her, like literally, you're probably somebody who's building a personal brand as well. And so
Mhm.
you know that energy attracts energy, like attracts like. If people see something in you that they aspire or inspire or are inspired by, it's going to attract them to want to know, what does she do? How can I work with her? It's not
Mhm.
usually the opposite of like, oh, that random woman has a podcast course. Like people can go figure out how to start a podcast like ChatGPT, Google, hello, so easy. So many people have podcast courses. There's podcasts. But it's the energy you're going to get when you're around the person. How much does she care? How excited is she about something? Like, what else can I learn on the back end of like the podcast course itself? So I definitely think the way that we show up and the energy that we bring to something, you can get excited about anything. That's why
Totally.
I always, struggle to help people reframe the, what is my purpose? I'm like, what are you passionate about right
Yeah.
now? Let's focus on that. And same with new podcasters. If you can get excited about your new podcast, everybody else will be excited about it for you and want to be a part of it and want to help you grow it. But if you're kind of just like not super into it and you're just toe dipping and you're not really showing up in your highest energy, like you're
Yeah.
going to attract the low level energy people.
Yeah. You have to be your biggest hype girl.
You do. You really do.
I love that so much. And I feel like your energy is contagious because I've had a very long day and I'm like, I'm feeling so good right now.
I had a triple espresso coffee earlier today before my last
Ooh.
podcast. I was like, she's bringing her A games today. I took all my supplements. I worked out even in the rain this morning. I was like, that's what I do to get my head around, being in the energy I want people to
Yeah.
get from me, because I feel like it's my duty. If you're showing up in the space, I'm not like this all the time. I have long days too. And unfortunately, sometimes I still got to work and show up. But
Yep.
how can I prime myself to be my best self when I am serving? And it does come back full service. Like I fill it up right now talking to you. Like energy attracts it. Like we both are
Yeah.
mirroring off each other. So,
Yeah.
and I'm a projector. That's why you're picking up on it.
Oh, okay. I'm a manifesting generator.
That's where we're a really good pair.
Yes, I love it. Okay, so today we're going to dive all into the topic of messy action, taking messy action and how it's better than indecision anytime. So I want to know about when you were going through your transition from leaving the beauty industry, transferring into or transitioning into this whole new career that you have. What did that messy, real version look like?
It's still really messy and sometimes blurry and confusing because when I had made the decision to become a hairdresser, I never changed my mind. I was all in, both feet, didn't look elsewhere for validation. I was in. And I was like, how can I become the best hairdresser? How can I become the most booked and busy? How can I become the highest paid person in my salon? And then it was like, how can I then open my own salon and attract more me's? Because I want to work with people like me.
Mhm.
And when I looked back at that time, I luckily didn't have social media to have comparisonitis with. I
Yeah.
wasn't able to see what the other salons were doing down the street. I couldn't see how other people were showcasing their work or attracting clients because back then it was guerrilla marketing, it was referral based, it was completely different. So, being someone in my late 30s trying to shift and pivot careers, it was difficult because I definitely thought it was going to be more of a like a lateral move of like, I'm amazing. I'm making over six figures over here. I'm just going to be able to transfer all the energy to the right and we're just going to keep things moving. I had to learn to be a beginner again. And I had to learn the difference between imposter syndrome and just being new. There's a huge difference. We can label ourselves in whatever category. One sounds disempowering and one sounds empowering.
Mhm.
I am new. There's no reason why I should know how to do this yet or be confident in it. Imposter syndrome implies that like I'm trying to fake that I'm not something that I am. Well, I am a podcaster. I have a microphone, I have a Riverside, I have an account. I am a podcaster. I'm brand new at something. And so it took me wrapping my head around being okay being new and not being that great at something. And that pain point pushed me to study my own tape. Like I talk to my students now, I'm like, study your tonality, study your delivery,
Mhm.
study your cadence. If you don't like something, change it. Ask
Mhm.
people, are you talking too slowly? Are you talking too fast? Are you saying like and Are you not landing the plane when you're talking about something? There are so many ways to get strategic and better, but you have to put the reps in first. So that early few even months and years, I questioned a lot of what I was doing. Why are you trying to do something that you're not good at yet? Why would you not just stick with the easy path of, you have a book of business, everybody's happy getting their hair done with you. I mean, literally, I just shared this on a podcast this morning. Nobody in my life was excited for me to shift the way I did
Mhm.
because I was in a service-based business. Ultimately, like I said earlier, everything's transactional. Everybody wanted me to win in life until it involved them not winning,
Yeah.
right? Like, okay, great. I'm happy for you, but like, who's going to do my hair?
Totally.
Serious question. And if you have ever struggled to find a good hairdresser, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Like, those
100%.
people are your ride or dies. I've
Yeah.
had clients with me 15, 20 years. Like, it was literally like they were like, are you breaking up with me? I mean, people
Yeah.
were pissed. And then when I went one step further and sold my salon that I had built, these girls that had come to work for me trusted that they would have
Mm.
me as their mentor and they were devastated. And I thought, oh, nobody would care. Like, they have a beautiful salon. I gave them to somebody good. No, people were pissed. And so not only did I have to fight that identity shift, I had to then continue to talk myself into a future version of me is going to be so proud of you, so happy that you did this now, because in 5, 10 years, Kai is going to be grown out of the house. And like, then what are you going to do? Is this what you want to be doing forever? Or do you think you can create a bigger impact if you try to take things to the next level, which looks like going online, creating the podcast, creating some sense of visibility and authority that I can share my message with the world. Now, that message has evolved and changed as I've grown and kind of found my voice, but it's all been thanks to finally just starting the podcast, to be dead honest.
That is incredible. And okay, so when you're talking about going through this transformation, and thank you for being transparent too, because I feel like so many entrepreneurs that have made it in this industry, they come on and it's almost like, oh, it was so easy. Oh, this just happened. And it's like, no, actually, it takes a lot of hard work and it is a transition. And there are these limiting beliefs that pop up, and there are these roadblocks that happen, and it doesn't stop. Even when you get there, it's like there's going to be new stuff and some of the same stuff that comes up just at a different level.
Yeah.
So thank you for being transparent. But when you were stepping into this new version and you said you had some of your clients, some of your employees like realizing like, oh my gosh, they're losing you, which is a compliment, and also I'm sure you felt like a little bit of a lack of support. What were some of those mindset blocks that were popping up? I know you mentioned the difference between imposter syndrome and just being new. That's huge. Were there any other mindset blocks that came up that you had to actually overcome in order to step into this new version of yourself?
I learned a lot from the first course that I created for hairdressers. It was basically a it was called the 6 Figure Stylist. And it was basically a mindset course to creating a six-figure business. And I realized quickly after I put it together that it was for anybody who had the block around hitting that six-figure, when I'm talking about $100,000 a year mark. Because 25 years ago in this industry, in the beauty industry I'm talking about, that was the coveted number, right? If you could make $100,000, you'd made it, you were in. And even now, entrepreneurs are just struggling to make their first
Yeah.
$100,000. And so that's a big deal. These 10K, 15K months everybody talks about as being like
Mhm.
the goal when you're getting into business. That sort of thing is just, you know, what I quickly realized was my strong suit was to help people through the limiting beliefs, but I
Mhm.
also had them too. And so I think we are often the best teachers of something we've currently or already gone through. So it's like a past version of ourselves. What do I wish I would have known, or who could have held my hand to help me see there's so much more possible for me if I would have looked at things differently, or saved my money, or invested differently, or started charging more. You know, there's so many outlets to breaking through those glass ceilings and limiting beliefs that we put on ourselves, but we often don't know we have them until we're put up against a mirror, or we see something that we want and we're like, well, how did they get there?
Yeah.
You know, or how do I do that? And for me, that's what that looked like 6 years ago when I joined a business mastermind. I had been following Chris and Lori Harder for many years. Lori was one of my fitness icon friends, and we had coached together and done some stuff for Strong Fitness magazine. And she had gifted me a ticket to one of her in-person events, which was called the Bliss Project. She hosted those for like 6 or 7 years. And I had watched her transition from a fitness entrepreneur into the personal development space. And I remember thinking, like, why is she shifting over? But when I learned about her struggles as a human and an entrepreneur, it made so much sense. And so she took us behind the scenes versus just the outside body of like, here's how you get fit. You know, that was a catalyst that got her visible. But then she took her, you know, likeliness and or her likeness and put it out into the world in a different vulnerable way. And so watching other people grow and do things inspired me to think I could do the same. So when her husband launched a high ticket mastermind, you had to be making 500,000 in your business to be a part of this inner circle mastermind. And at the time, I had never seen anything that was like, quote unquote, out of my reach that I couldn't get into or be a
Uh,
part of. And I was like, well, if nothing changes, I'll never be able to get into that room, because at the current pace I'm going, I'm not going to hit 500,000 for many, many years. And what do those people talk about in that room? And aren't masterminds only for like corporate people? I didn't know. Like, I
yeah.
had so many questions. So I swear I'm the one who like willed him to create a lower ticket mastermind for people who were at the beginner stage level. So sure enough, one day he's on Instagram doing his marketing and he's like, I created Fast Foundations. This is for early stage and accidental entrepreneurs. And I was like, that's me.
Yeah.
And I was like, when I started in beauty school, I didn't think to myself, oh, I want to be an entrepreneur. I don't even know if I knew what the actual definition
Right.
was. I just knew I wanted to create my own schedule. I wanted freedom and I wanted to be creative. So, you know, several years later, my son at this point was like 8 or 9 years old, and I knew that I was missing out on a lot of stuff. So, again, pain point. And I knew that there was more out there I needed to learn, but I just didn't know from who. And
Mhm.
so, knowing that they had shifted their life and business model, and I'd watched Lori kind of do some of this stuff, I didn't always know the behind the scenes, but I saw a shift. And I was like, okay, whatever they're doing, I'm going to get in those rooms. Because I saw her in rooms like Gabby Bernstein. I knew she had gone to like
Mm.
Jack Canfield events. So I knew she was investing at a really high level. So this mastermind was about $8,000 to join for 6 months. And I remember at the time, it was like the biggest investment I had ever made for myself personally, with no clear ROI, right? Like I'd paid to go to beauty school, I'd paid to go to many courses and classes, but like I knew what I was going to get per se,
Right.
right? Certification, a licensing, something. And so I remember talking to Chris, and he was like, at the time you had to be making $50,000 in your online business for them to help you scale. I said, I don't even have an online business, but I know you guys are the go-to people for like getting in these rooms. So what do you say? Will you let me in? So I was literally begging for a spot, right?
Yeah.
And he was like, Jess, all we can tell you is that masterminds have changed our lives, and that the people that we bring in are probably going to help you figure out what the next thing is for you to do. And I was like, that's a lot of money to like just see what's
Mhm.
next for me. So I went into that with the full intention of, I'm the dumbest person in the room, and that's what they say is a good thing. Cool.
Yeah.
Okay, let's reframe that. Great. I'm in the right place. Secondly, if I could walk away with just like 2 or 3 connected high level friends, I feel like that would be worth it. And
Yeah.
so sure enough, I put everything I could into that mastermind during those 6 months, because I had skin in the game and I was committed to something. I found that dream salon space. I started networking events for hairdressers and beauty entrepreneurs with like in-person speakers and all kinds of stuff. I started an online community, and I started a whole
Wow.
merch line with like sweatshirts and, you know, journals and all
Oh my
kinds of stuff.
gosh.
Yes. And thankfully, I had like the community around me and people pouring belief into me, like, go, 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 like do
Mhm.
all the things. Who else creates that much stuff in under 6 months?
Totally.
So then when we were shut down literally 6 months later
Oh,
after opening my salon, I already had momentum and some skin in the game that I didn't freak out. I was like, action taking time. Start the damn
amazing.
podcast, do what you can with what you got. And sure enough, I had Chris back on the podcast and I asked for a job. I was like, what do you got? And he's like, well, we actually hired support coaches inside the next round. Do you want to be one of them? And so because I joined that mastermind and because I put myself out there in a different way, somebody else was able to see my value and see my skill set. And so I got brought in as a coach for them for the next couple of rounds. And that really just took off for my coaching career. So if you want to say easy, that was my
Yeah.
version of easy, which none of it was easy.
You know what is coming up for me too as you're saying this? So yes, it's absolutely taking messy action and it's showing up. It's putting yourself out there. And that is so hard to do. Like to just say, I'm going to go in this room of like people who have actually done it. I haven't even started yet. And I'm going to go for it. I'm going to go in there. I'm just going to try. Like that's really hard for some people.
It's
I'm
hard
sure it
for a
was
lot
hard
of
for you.
people. Oh my
Yeah.
gosh, are you kidding me? Because it wasn't just that one single investment that then catapulted me into the next thing. There were several more big investments that had to come down the road. Starting the podcast, I went all in. I did video content from the beginning. I later pulled back on that and went just virtual, like we're recording now, and
Mhm.
learned to streamline things in efficient ways. But in the beginning, like I am a huge proponent of like, the whole robbing Peter to pay Paul. If you have a side hustle or a dream or something you want to create, there are pockets in your day that you can do that. There
Yep.
is a little bit of money you could reallocate to help you start working on your dream or your side hustle or building up the thing that you say you want to do. Where there's a will, there's a way, and there's
Yep.
probably somebody who can help you do it. It's not so much about like, how do I do it? It's who do you need to be around to pour that belief into you, to hold you accountable, and to possibly even show you, hey, here's how I did it. Let me help you get there. And so that's where, a lot of the things I've created have been birthed because people see me doing it and they're like, how
Mhm.
did you do it? And so I'm like, does that feel aligned for me to then turn around and teach or sell it as a service I offer? So it's been
Yeah.
an evolution of like what lights me up too, because just because we can do something doesn't mean that's what we should be doing.
100%. Oh my
You
good.
you probably talk to a lot of really smart, high level women who have maybe a background like you or even a background like me who literally get stuck in indecision because we are capable of doing anything. And in this day
Mhm.
and age, you can see it all on social media. That looks like it'd be fun. That looks like you'd make a lot of money. That looks like you could work from the beach and do whatever. How are we meant to discern like what do I actually intuitively
Totally.
want to do? And then if that's the thing I want to do, is there a way to monetize that and then like build community around it? That's where I think it's not the old like you're 19, you're going into college. What's the one thing you want to be? It was
Right.
it was lawyer, doctor, and then it was like, okay, well then what specialty? Okay, I want to be
Yeah.
a bankruptcy lawyer. Well,
Yep.
that's two choices you had to make. Now you have to make 75 choices before you land on
Yeah.
something.
I know. It is such a different world nowadays. It really is. And I will say the thing that I love too about this opportunity that we have as entrepreneurs and what we're both sort of doing in our own worlds and what we're doing in our careers that we've built and created is first and foremost, we're teaching our kids that they can do anything they want to do.
Yes.
And that is the cool, like I even get the chills saying that because I never want my kids to have to go through life thinking they have to do something just because someone said they had to, or that they have to do this path, whatever it is, take this path because society says, or this is what you're supposed to do.
Yeah.
I never want them to feel that way. If they want to be a plumber for whatever, like whatever they want to do, if that's their true calling, they can do that. And I just think that when kids model what they see, not what we say. So by our kids seeing us do this, it's so empowering for them to know that they can do this. They can do whatever they put their minds to.
Yeah. Well, and
So,
it's about making a decision and then sticking to that decision. That's key. I think as children, though, it's difficult to make decisions when the world is showing you everything because
mhm.
I think it's easier when we think we have less choices, right? Or like
Yeah.
this or that. But the thing for me that that I resonate with what you just said is I want my son to know that there's a lot of ways to get from A to
Right.
Z. And if you do make a decision in one direction, it's okay to pivot or change or to say, I
True.
messed up. This isn't actually what I want to do. You know, how many people go to college for a certain degree and just see
I
it
know.
through just to check the box and then never go and work in that field? It's why I think, you know, the college degree isn't like as worth what it used to be. I think
Mhm.
the college experience is worth
Yeah.
everything. So that's why I'd push my kid to go to college. I'd say, hey, take the classes you want, meet people, and learn how to one, learn,
Right.
two, learn how to be adaptive and how to create relationships that are going to be with you for the rest of your life. Because if
Yeah.
you think about college like a mastermind, that's essentially what it is.
Yeah.
We're all in this gang and we all got to get through this thing. And you're bonded for life when you go through hard stuff with people. And so I think that's why so many people stay close in college from college
Yeah.
relationships because they went through something together.
Yep. That's so true. I will say, looking back at my own college career or college experience, I mean, I don't really remember anything from the classes per se, but like it's that whole experience, like learning how to prioritize working and going to class and maintaining a social life. And like at that age, a lot of things that are hard are insurmountably more challenging because it's the first time you're going through it.
I didn't go to a traditional college. I went straight to beauty school. And
Mhm.
after 3 months, I dropped out because I didn't like the classes. I didn't like the teacher. And my mom was giving me a hard time about going to college. So I went to real college for a year. Still couldn't really figure out what I wanted to do. And my hours were only going to be good for a year from the little bit of school I did do. So I went back. I was a whole year older, right? At that age, that's like 10 years. And I had a different mindset. I was like, okay, if I'm going to do this, I'm going to do it. And just
Yep.
like you spoke about being a plumber, my friend's husband is like a multi-million dollar plumber. Like
Yeah.
they live a lavish, glamorous life off of him cleaning toilets. Like,
Yeah.
he doesn't clean, you know what I mean? So it's like whatever mindset you put behind the thing you choose can literally be the biggest and baddest that you want. And that's what I go and back and I show people in the industry. I'm like, if you're going to choose to be in the beauty industry, this can be the most lucrative thing you've
Yeah.
ever chosen to do. So just because the thing we think isn't going to be the biggest, it can be. You just have to
Totally.
figure out how to, one, like I said, get excited about it. Two, speak about it like it's the greatest thing you've ever talked about or done. But I will say the one thing I do regret is I didn't get that college experience, but I was making
Mhm.
six figures before most of my friends graduated college.
And you got a different experience. It's
I
so funny
did.
because everyone always it's like the grass is greener on the other side kind of thing. So
Totally. Always.
yeah. Okay, so you talked about previously how you had to first take this leap. One, so that you could show yourself that you trust yourself making this leap. And then the second part is also being able to show people in your life that you could do this so then they could then take the leap. So, can you share some examples about when you were taking that leap and what that felt like?
I mean, super scary, especially when things didn't go like I thought they would go. I mean, the mindset of like, just go back to what you know haunted me. And it still sometimes does. Like to this day, I'm like, just reopen a salon, just focus on what you know how to do. You know, it's like my mind wants to play tricks on me that somehow like going back, quote unquote, is going to be easier. Life was challenging then. Work was hard
Mhm.
then. I had to work hard then. I had to focus then. I had to do the same thing day in and day out to create consistency and results. It's no different over here. So when I'm having a hard time and I'm struggling now, it's because I'm not being consistent. I'm not doing the
Mhm.
things I know I need to be doing like I should. It's different when you're in a client facing business because you have like it's hour on hour. You've got clients, there's no fucking around, there's no not focusing, there's no like I don't feel in alignment today. I don't feel like doing this. You just do it. I didn't cancel clients, you know, but truth be told, like I've canceled podcasts before due to like things I couldn't foresee. I can count on one hand in 20 years how many times I called in sick when I had to hear
Mm.
clients. Hardly
Yeah.
ever. I would go in there like dying because one, I wasn't going to miss out on that money. Two, COVID hadn't existed yet. So people were fine if you were sneezing on them. Again, it was
Yeah.
all about them getting their hair done. They didn't give a shit if I was sick. So
Totally.
it was a completely different mindset. Now we wake up and we have a little scratch and I'm like, I'm not going to show up on social media today. I'm not going to post my stories because I didn't have my hair done. Like we
Yeah.
make any excuses to get in our own way nowadays compared to then. So whenever I'm having a hard time, whenever I'm having these like soul crushing, you know, moments where I'm like, just go get a regular job. I'm like, so then what you can hate your boss instead of hating yourself for not doing
Yeah.
it? Like, it's so much easier to shift the blame. And I'm actually fortunate enough to have a partner who's in corporate America who essentially has what we love to call golden handcuffs, right? He's got a high level job.
Mm.
He's been with the company 25 years. They pay him a shit ton of money to like high level manage people. he likes it for the most part, but there are so many things he doesn't like. And there's so much
Yeah.
red tape he has to deal with when it comes to like dealing with people and all that shit. And I'm like, would you trade what you get to do for one, the salary? No. Two, the bullshit he has to go through. I'm like, no, it's just different bullshit. So, like, the whole mention of grass is greener on the other side, like you talked about, I'm at least smart enough to remind myself of that. I'll let myself go down the rabbit hole. Don't get it twisted.
Yeah.
I'm not some like powerhouse mindset guru. I'll have a cry about it like I did this
Yeah.
morning, even on my walk. It was raining. I'm like, this is appropriate. I'm like crying in the rain.
Yeah.
And then finally, when I got to work, I put my makeup on like I do because the external always makes me feel better. I got here, the sun came out, and instantly I was like, oh, I'm in a better mood. But I
Yeah.
also did all of my things this morning to get my mind right. I went for my
Totally.
walk. I journaled. I ate a healthy breakfast. I took my supplements. I got myself my treat, which is my coffee from Starbucks.
Cool.
And lo and behold, look who is feeling better and look who's
Yeah.
enjoying their day. Like, for fuck's sake. It's like sometimes an everyday roller coaster, guys.
It is. And honestly, like when you're in this messiness of life, because life is fucking messy, like it just is, and you can't predict when things gonna pop out of nowhere. Like you said, your son, he broke his leg. Is that what it was? He broke
Yeah,
his
2
leg.
weeks ago.
He broke his leg. Like you can't predict when something like that's gonna happen. And of course it's gonna derail things.
Yeah.
And what you're touching on about the importance of just taking care of yourself, like, is huge. And I feel like that's a huge pillar in getting through hard seasons or when you do have something that's messy happening in your life. It's really easy to get off track and stay off track.
Yeah.
So it's that like remembering and consciously being aware of like, no, I actually have to take care of myself. Even if it is raining, I'm going to go on the damn walk. Like, and
Totally.
cry, even
Like,
if I'm
literally,
crying.
after he broke his leg, I experienced so much trauma because I let him get this extra fast, like, e-bike, which was my bad, against his dad's will. And, his dad and I obviously share custody, and we're pretty cool, but, like, his dad didn't want him to have this specific bike. I let him
Mhm.
get the bike, and he got hurt. And
Mm.
so I was beating myself up, right? As a mom, we always blame ourselves for everything, even if it wasn't our fault, but this time it
Yeah.
was. And then I tried to self sabotage my relationship with my fiance in the interim. I'm like, you're just in my way. Like, I was just having a moment. Like, we're
Yeah.
literally for like a week, I was like coming unhinged. And luckily, we have enough history that he was like, you're just upset. I'm like, damn right I am.
Yeah.
Like, it was literally an out of body moment. But then yesterday, like, it all kind of came down. I had like a real reset afternoon. And I'm like, I need to just go for a drive. I literally, my son was fine. I gave him some food on the couch and I just went for a drive yesterday and I just wandered around this cute little neighborhood and I was just like, just be. You don't have to do anything right
Yes.
now. Nothing's going to fall apart. Like, give yourself some time to just be because we stay in the energy of doing as if it's the
Mhm.
most productive thing. And I think sitting still with ourselves and allowing our body to hit the reset gives us a Monday like this. Like, we're recording on a Monday and I've gone through it the last couple of weeks and it was almost enough to make me want to like throw in the towel. Literally had thoughts of like quitting, throwing it all in. Like, that happens to the best of us.
Yeah.
And I think like on your hardest days as a parent, you'll be like, what am I doing? What am I doing
Yeah.
wrong? What is happening? It's the same with anything. And I think if you just remember to not let the lows get you down too low and enjoy the highs when they're there, but know that they're probably going to pass too. Like, that's what helps me stay even. But
Yeah.
then also my habits and my practices help support me to not lose my mother trucking mind and to just
Yeah.
murder everybody.
Yeah. Keep that consistent part at least.
Yes.
That's huge. Um, okay, so have you always been the type of person that takes the messy action, or has there been a part of you? Has there been a past version of you where you did have this perfect plan and you were kind of scared to take these action steps because you were worried that it was going to be messy or the what ifs and all the things?
I mean, I think I've always had a little like tough prove it mentality ever since I was a kid. I don't know if it's because my mom had me so young that I had to like kind of fight for attention when it came to like my cousins and different my grandparents had 6 kids. My mom was the youngest and I was like an oops. So there was a lot of vying for attention, not getting a lot of attention and validation at home. A lot of like, well, let me be perfect. Let me prove to everybody that I'm worth the attention, worth the time. And so I recognized a couple years ago that I was still in this like prove it to her mentality, especially choosing to go to beauty school instead of going to traditional school. She
Mm,
wanted quote unquote more for me than she had for herself.
mm,
And I remember, just waking up one day, I actually was listening to a podcast, and the two women were talking about like still proving themselves. And I was like, if I stopped proving myself, what would I change? And that's when I
Mhm.
started to think outside of the beauty industry of like, okay, you've checked the box of what you wanted to accomplish. What's next? Because I had always said to myself, I'm going to do this until I figure out what I really want to do with my life. And I learned to become like a confidence building coach behind the chair, right? I always call us unlicensed therapists. They didn't train us,
Yeah.
but that's what we've all become. Like, we're unlicensed therapists. I've literally heard every story from every type of human possible in the last 25 years. Like, I had a book of over 200 clients at one point, with different people coming in and out, and you see the best and worst of people
Yeah.
throughout those many years. Some of those are some of my longest relationships, and I get 2 hours with those people every six
Yeah.
to 8 weeks. That's a lot of time with somebody.
Yeah.
And so I studied human behavior, and I realized a lot of the things that I struggled with or would go through are normal. And so I think
Totally.
once you feel more normal, that you're not weird or wrong or something's wrong with you, you can learn to ebb and flow through some of that stuff. But early on, I did learn that, oh, no one else is going to speak up. I'm going to speak up. So it was
Mhm.
almost this way of like being different in the beginning. And even from being a kid, like, I wanted to color my hair weird colors, and I wanted to like
Mm.
pierce different things on my body, and I started getting tattoos at like 15. So I don't know where that came from, but I do know that, no one ever messed with me growing up. And I was a little bit bigger than most people growing up. I was like literally this size in like 7th grade, which was kind of big. Everyone else was like 98 pounds, and I weighed like 130. I was 5'5". I was like tall and big for my age. And so I think I used that to my advantage because, people would listen to me when I spoke up.
Right.
And I think I learned, if you have authority in your voice, or if you believe in what you're saying, then people will believe in you. And so I don't know
Mhm.
if I knew what I was doing back then of like mirroring the energy I wanted to attract, but I learned that if you have something to say, there's ways you can say it that will land a lot nicer than if you're telling people what to do. I did not know that I was a projector on the human design
Mm.
until obviously a couple years ago. Had I known that as a child, I would have known that I'm meant to know things that people don't know, and that
Yeah.
I have to wait till they ask me to, if for my opinion, and to
Uh,
not just tell everybody, because I did used to get, you think you know everything, or you're like, Miss Know It All. And I'm like, I don't literally know how I know this, but I know it. It's like I can read
yeah.
people's energy the second they come in. We'd get new people that would start at the salon, and I'd be like, nope, she ain't got it. Like, how would I know that? How would I know that? You know?
Yeah. That's
So it's
amazing.
it's it's interesting when we hone into our gifts, because everybody has their own set of gifts. A lot of them has been blocked since childhood. If people told you to be quiet when you were little, or don't, I came from kind of that era of like, children should be seen, not heard. We were never asked our opinions or how do you feel. My mom
Yeah.
wasn't super emotional with me growing up. And so I'm a little on the colder side. I'm a little bit more on the like, tell it how it is. And while that served me in a lot of ways, I've had to learn to, be a little bit softer when it comes to my delivery, but I can still speak my mind and I can still have an opinion. There's just different ways to be more, polite and politically correct. If you've got something you want in mind at the end of, again, reverse engineering, like, what is the plan for this conversation?
Yeah. No, that makes so much sense. And that's so funny that you're talking about human design. I feel like it's been coming up so much recently. And I wholeheartedly believe in it because it's so true. And it's such a tool like to use to your benefit. And yeah, if I would have known that I was a manifesting generator when I was a kid, I feel like I would have approached life so differently.
And I know my son is a manifesting generator, so to me that speaks volumes on like what interests him and what doesn't. Like, you all, if it's not your idea and you're not into it, you are not into it. And like,
Yeah.
he literally, like, school is tough, so I have to find ways to get him excited about school, right?
Yeah.
Incentivizing him with that bike and vice versa. So, projectors are just a different energy too, and we're meant to move differently. And I would have assumed I was a manifesting generator based off of like how I was trained. I bet you my mom is. And so
Oh,
I probably
probably.
picked up on her work ethic and the way she moved. And then my partner's a generator. So knowing what he is and what I am, I've been able to show him, hey, I'm not weird. You're not weird. This is who we are, how we're meant to operate. And here's why sometimes you need to go sleep on the couch. Like, projectors are like meant to sleep alone or something. And I was like, I told you I'm not weird. I just don't want to sleep next to you.
This is like the typical, it's not you, it's me. No, but really, it's me.
100. It's me. It's all me. But
I love
those
that.
those sorts of things, like, I have some really good friends that teach human design, and I took a whole 13-week course with a woman named Erin
Ooh.
Claire Jones. She's incredible. If you guys don't know anything about human design, go check her out. Erin with an E. She has a new book coming out, actually. She's come back on the podcast, on my podcast here pretty soon. But she has a whole 13-week high level deep dive course teaching you all about human design. And what's cool, even if you're not interested in being like a teacher in it, knowing about the people in your life and what they are can help you with their energy, help you understand them. If you're a coach, it's good to learn, because once I knew what somebody was, there's only 5 designs. I was able to approach conversations differently in my coaching business. And then also appreciate and talk to people. Like, again, I know what my son is, my partner. It's been
Yeah.
massively helpful.
Totally. So I bought previously one of her blueprints.
Yeah.
She has like one of, I think it's called a blueprint.
Yeah, I have it
And
too.
I bought one for myself, for both of my kids and my husband, because I just wanted to genuinely learn about like how they make decisions, what's the best way I should approach them. So super helpful. Couldn't agree
Super.
more.
Better than any parenting book you'll ever buy.
Yes. Okay. So to give the listeners some actionable, practical tips. So do you have any suggestions for if somebody is feeling stuck in indecision and that place where they're at, like where they're wobbling on a decision
Yes.
and they don't know what to do and they're struggling with taking messy action? Do you have any practical just tips that they could do?
Totally. So I have a clarity framework that I walk people through, because that's often where we get stuck. What's the clarity here? Because if it was clear, you'd feel more confident and then you'd probably take the action. So if you guys want that, I can send it to you. Just DM me on Instagram at Jessica Burgio. I've learned that the reason we usually don't have clarity is because we're not getting quiet enough and listening to ourselves. We're looking for
Mm,
external validation to give us the answers that we already intuitively know. Now, it doesn't mean just because you know the answer that you'll know how to do the thing, or you'll have
mhm.
the resources, or you're educated to then move the needle with once the decision is made. But I once had a client come to me who wanted to write a book, and she was listening to upwards of like 60 podcast episodes a month, reading 2 or 3
Wow.
books a month. It was like her box checking. She's brilliant. She loves information. And I said to her, but she was feeling really overwhelmed. She was coming to me stressed. She wasn't sure on XYZ. And I said, how can you even be thinking your own thoughts when all you're doing is ingesting all this other content from other thought leaders? And she looked at me and I'm like, your only homework is to not listen or read anything for 30 days. She
Mhm.
literally burst into tears on the call and then hired me as her business coach the next day. And I was like, I hate that I made you cry, but I obviously struck a chord in there.
Yeah.
Right? Because there was something in there that she was trying to look for to give her what enough know-how to then write her own book, or to then start her own podcast, which she ultimately went on to write her own book, start her own podcast, create her own keynotes. I mean, she's doing incredible. And I think for me, I've been guilty of this, is where I start to look for outside validation. Whether you're struggling with something little or big, you go and ask other people's information or validation. Should I break up with
Yeah.
my husband? I don't know. Should you? Like, then you want to hear all
Yeah.
the backstory. And of course, you're only going to get one
Mhm.
side of the story. And so
Right.
we constantly seek validation. And I think it's a me thing. I did it for years, because when you get approval, you know you're doing good.
Yeah.
Well, you have to define what good means, and you have to define what soul fulfilling means. And so if you're stuck in a place of like not sure what direction to go in, you got to go somewhere where you can think. Whether that's a
Mhm.
clarity walk, which I simply make my clients do, it's no music, no phone, no nothing. Just take yourself on a walk and think. The first 10, 15 minutes, you'll be talking to yourself like a wackadoodle, and then your thoughts will become clear. And often by like mile 1, the emotions start to come out for me,
Yeah.
you
I
know?
love that so much because you're right. We're stuck in this world of like consuming, 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 and we don't give ourselves enough space to actually do the thing. So, sorry, my dog again. um, this theme of spaciousness too has been coming up a lot, and it's so crazy what space can do and what it can bring us.
Yeah.
So,
Well, that's why I innately always put it into my calendar. And that's why yesterday was kind of that day for me, where there were things I quote unquote needed to get done. And I'm like, you just need space. Like, leave the phone in the car, go for a walk, and just be in the energy of the space. I was inspired by I saw different spaces for rent. I was like, ooh, that'd be a cool salon. Or, I did nothing with that information. I went home. I did not open 6 new salons. I did not open the restaurant that I saw that was for sale, but I dreamed about it, and I
yeah.
played with just like dreaming and thinking. This morning, I was even Googling buying some businesses locally. I'm
Ooh.
probably not going to do any of that. But sometimes we don't give ourselves permission to play in like the space, because we're like, what's the point? Why would we do that? I'm never going to do that. But allowing yourself that space to either just rest or to play, we call it stupid idea time in my world. I also play it, what wouldn't it be cool when? Because if you don't allow yourself to dream, like you don't get to come to the fruition of ever having those dreams come to be. You stay stuck in the same monotony of doing the same thing over and over, feeling unfulfilled. So sometimes we have to just play that, like, get quiet with yourself, go for a walk, treat yourself to coffee, go for a drive, like give yourself that freedom. I would pepper it in once a week if you can. Some people only have the, ability to do it maybe once a month, but if you can get like a whole afternoon off to just be, no reading, no books, no podcasts, no nothing, trust me, it'll change your life.
It really will. I've started implementing staycations once a quarter for just myself.
Good
Like
for you.
no husband, no kids, just going to like a basic hotel in like within a 30-mile radius. Last time I went to Costa Mesa, I just went to some random hotel and I just was. I literally just sat in bed. I walked around a little lake they had outside. I went to the hotel gym and I left feeling like a new person.
I just did that in February. I went to Cabo for 3 days by myself. Same thing.
So good. It's so powerful.
I'm going to work. I'm going to do podcasts. I'm going to do this. I'm like, I literally journaled every morning and read for maybe 10 or 15 minutes. And the rest of the day, I just sat there.
I love that.
It was the best.
It's the best, truly. Okay, so I know that there's going to be women who are listening to this who, again, are really struggling with taking that messy action. So if she's listening to this episode as a sign, what would you want her to know in her heart today?
If you're afraid to make the move that you're thinking about making, because that's the literal scary indecision, I would write yourself a list of pros and cons. What will happen if I don't do this? Who will not be served if I don't do this? How will I feel if I don't take action on this? If I ignore it, will it go away? And how much pain am I going to put myself through if I just do the damn thing?
So powerful. Oh my gosh, the reverse is really powerful for me. It's who will not be served if I don't do this? What are the consequences? That's huge. So
Often
powerful.
people want to talk about, your dreams are only as big as the people that you include in them. I agree on that. But then also, if you are not doing something that's self-fulfilling, you will not continue. So the thing that's left in my business that fulfills me the most is connecting on podcasts like this with other women. It's why I continue to have my podcast, because it fills my soul and it also helps other people. So it's like a whole beautiful little blended, marriage of I get served, my clients get served, and everybody wins. So if you can find something like that in your life to create, that's the magic sauce. And most of us know intuitively what it is or what it should be. And if you don't, get around people who seem like they have it and pick up on that energy and allow for their belief in themselves and what they're doing to like bleed over to you. Maybe borrow their belief until you have some of your own, because I had to do that for many years until I started to believe that I was worthy to take up space and to speak my truth and to create my own lane and to stop trying to be somebody's number two and be okay being number one.
Yeah. So true. I had to do the same thing. So if that gives someone permission to do it, do it.
Do it.
Okay. So I have a few rapid fire questions for you before we wrap things up.
Let's go.
So, what was and this is all tied to the theme of taking messy action, but what was your favorite messy action that you've ever taken that changed your life?
Oh, starting the podcast for sure.
Amazing. And what is a mantra that you come back to when fear shows up?
Oh, it's tattooed on my arm. It says, have faith, not fear.
Ooh, I love it. And it's pretty too.
Thank you.
Okay. And this is a question that I ask everyone on the podcast, but what is something you're currently working on that's lighting you up from the inside out?
My podcast community. I have created a community that's launching the first week of May for podcasters. So it's literally our community hub. Think of it as like a high level mastermind for podcasters where we can meet monthly with guest experts, just pouring into us, keeping us held accountable, keeping us excited about creating content like this, because I think it's really important to be in community with people who are doing the things you're doing.
I love that so much. And I love when you talk about the podcast stuff too. Like I can just see you lighting up, like truly. Obviously, I saw you do a talk on it, like live in person. I've binge listened to your entire podcast, and now here just having this conversation with you. So thank you so much for being on my podcast and having this real, raw conversation, being transparent and vulnerable and just being you. And where can the listeners find you? How can they work with you? Let them know.
Yes, so I'm on Instagram. I love to hang out over there. It's at Jessica Burgio. And I love a good DM. Send me a voice note if you want to chat more about whatever you've got going on in your life. And then obviously we have the podcast that you could go binge listen to too, called Unscripted. Hopefully she can just throw that in the show notes, or you can just Google my name and find everything. If you're local to San Diego, or if you ever make it down here, we host monthly events for entrepreneurs as well that are awesome. That's the Entrepreneur Success Series. And then if you are interested in working one-on-one to start your podcast or build credibility in the podcast space, I would love to help you launch your show. That's just something I'm super passionate about. And obviously one-to-one high-level holistic life and business coaching kind of goes in all of that as my main bread and butter. But I just love helping people get the fuck out of their own way.
Cut to the chase. That's
Yes.
just what I love to do. No, I love it. That's amazing. I'm going to put all of your information in the show notes. So definitely go follow Jess, shoot her a DM, and just thank you so much for sharing your energy. And I really appreciate you.
Of course. Thank you.
Thank you for joining me on this episode of Light Her Up. I hope you're feeling inspired and ready to take steps towards a life better than you ever dreamed. I see you, I hear you, and I'm so proud of you for showing up and prioritizing your journey. When you fill up your cup with love, you can pour so much more into the people and passions that matter to you most. If this episode resonated with you, I'd be so grateful if you subscribed, left a review, and shared it with someone who could use a little extra light. For more, check out our weekly 5-minute meditations or connect with me on Instagram at The Light Within Collective. I'm sending you my love, and I'll catch you on the next episode.